The boy spilled his drink and laughed. The mother didn't say a word. She just pointed at the old man mopping quietly in the corner. "Maybe you should learn something from him," she whispered. But the teenager rolled his eyes, chuckling loud enough for others to hear. "He's just the janitor." At that moment, a pair of executives stepped around him, muttering complaints about the smell. The wet floor reeked of bleach and something old, something worn out. The man holding the mop didn't flinch. Not when they sneered. Not when someone tossed a paper cup that missed the trash can and hit his shoe. He simply reached down, picked it up, and kept working. Silent. His name tag read Joseph. No last name. No title. Just Joseph. That he moved slowly. His left foot dragged slightly behind the right, as if time had taken one more thing than it should have. His gray uniform was ironed, though faded from years of washing. His hands were calloused, not just from cleaning floors, but from things far heavier. Things no one in that building could have imagined. Behind his quiet eyes lived decades. Pain, honor, secrets. One noticed the slight tilt of his head whenever someone barked an order. No one wondered why he stood so straight when others slouched, or why he paused at exactly 5 p.m., standing still, staring out the tall glass window that overlooked the flag. It was as if he was waiting for someone, or remembering something. Years ago, Joseph had worn a different uniform. It wasn't gray. It was stitched with courage. He had stood in deserts, marched through jungles, and flown into storms. Real ones, not the kind you scroll past. He had been part of operations that didn't make headlines, because they weren't supposed to. He'd watched friends fall beside him, holding their final breath like a secret they couldn't carry anymore. He'd return with scars on his back and fire behind his ribs. But when he came home, there were no cameras, no parade. The world moved on. So, he put on a different uniform and just kept serving. The grand hall that day was filled with polished shoes, flashing cameras, and scripted applause. It was a day of honors. A president was visiting. Awards were ready. Speeches rehearsed. Joseph kept cleaning. He wasn't invited. He was just the janitor, until a man in a black suit paused and stared. He tilted his head, took a step forward. "Is that?" the man whispered to the security chief. The chief frowned, glanced at the old man, then shrugged. But the man in the black suit didn't move on. Instead, he walked toward Joseph. And everyone watched, confused. Then, in front of the cameras, in front of the CEOs, the generals, the polished speeches, the President of the United States stepped off the stage and hugged the janitor. Silence fell, whispers rose. The reporters didn't know where to aim their cameras. Executives stiffened. "Sir," the president said quietly, "I remember you." Joseph nodded once, slowly. His lips didn't move, but his eyes said everything. "I wouldn't be here if you hadn't pulled me out that night," the president continued. "I never forgot." No one could speak. Even the teenager dropped his phone. Joseph didn't say a word. He didn't need to, because honor doesn't always shout. Sometimes, it just shows up every day and does the work. And that day, the nation remembered. A chair was pulled to the front. Not for a general, not for a senator, but for Joseph. They asked him to sit. He refused. He stood, mop in hand, as the national anthem played. No tears, no speech, just stillness. And truth. In that stillness, a boy saw what respect really looks like. A woman lowered her eyes, ashamed of what she hadn't seen before. The executives stepped back, unsure how to apologize without words, and across every screen that replayed the moment, two quotes would echo. "Heroes don't always wear medals. Some mop floors, some save lives, and some do both." If this story moved you, drop a comment below. Where are you watching from? What does real respect mean to you? Subscribe for more stories that remind us who the true silent heroes really are.